sort of general notice that I'd like you to know about is that I'm going to be doing a Reddit AMA, Reddit Ask Me Anything, which is sort of like a Q&A session for those of you who don't know and don't visit Reddit. It makes a lot more sense to do a Q&A style thing on Reddit because it's just an easier format to work with, rather than having to like read through a ton of YouTube comments and then make a whole video recording answers. It's just something where you can ask questions instantly, I can respond instantly, and you can follow up instantly. And that's going to be happening on the Combat Surf subreddit, which is actually a really fun place you can share, a lot of videos, any pictures, discussing things with Combat Surf in general. So that's going to be happening over at reddit.com/r/combatsurf. And as soon as that AMA is up, I'll also drop a direct link in the description. So hopefully that helps you all out. Hey everyone, this is Darth Elmo, and I decided I'd record a quick video about dropshotting, mainly about how to dropshot more effectively and just some general tips and tactics. I'm recording this almost entirely on the fly. I don't have a script or anything on me, so if I forget any points, make sure to drop them in the comments, and obviously I apologize if this isn't exactly professionally recorded since I don't usually do tips videos, but I thought I'd just share a few things that I've learned from my experiences with dropshotting and how that could help you in Combat Surf matches. So obviously, dropshotting is only featured on some servers, and this really only applies to servers with more retro settings. Obviously, since no spread's gotten popularized, dropshotting is not as common on servers, and sometimes when it is on servers, it's not implemented properly. Since I'm doing this offline, I have to use a scout to have full accuracy. I can't demonstrate with the op, but same concepts apply. I'll just have to try to hit some headshots, or I can just tell you when I know I've scored a hit. So there are a few main things that you need to keep in mind when you want to drop shot, and the first of that is where to drop shot. Positioning is extremely important with drop shotting. The entire idea behind it is that you're sacrificing all of your horizontal velocity, or at least the vast majority of it, in order to gain accuracy. So dropshotting is a trade-off, and that's why players who are good at dropshotting end up having a massive advantage over anybody that they're fighting against, because it's something that you don't have to just be good at aiming and be good with your reflexes to aim while in the air. You actually have to be smart too, and you have to be clever with your positioning and your timing and all that stuff. So obviously positioning is important, because if you're surfing along like so, and you decide that you're going to drop shot, right, that's a full stop. In this case, I just quickly went into no clip so that I didn't fall. But if you have anybody who's camping, right, let's say that CT right there is just happens to be sitting, he's got, an auto sniper or something. If I'm going across his field of vision, chances are it's going to be pretty hard for him to hit me unless he's a really, solid player, an above average player. But as soon as I drop shot, it makes it extremely easy to hit shots on me, because all he has to do is move his crosshair down, and he only has to deal with one axis of movement instead of two axes of movement. So he's obviously going to be able to hit much easier shots. And the same goes for other players too, right? If you're getting followed on a map and you decide, you know what, I'm going to go for a drop shot, well, the guy who just followed behind you could easily drop shot himself and fire off a shot at you. So in general, there's just sort of a sense of vulnerability that you have to keep in mind when you decide to drop shot, and obviously positioning is going to help you with that. So places to drop shot. Well, it's also important to consider that when you drop shot, you're not going to be able to move around, which means if you're off a ramp, you're not going to be able to get back onto one. So the general idea is, unless you're, a star drop shotter who wants to go for some super risky shots, you're going to want to drop shot in places that you'll be able to recover from. This means, first off, that you don't want to drop shot super high in the air, because then you're going to be waiting a really, really long time to fall down to a place where you can surf and get your horizontal velocity back. And again, that just gives other players a massive window of time in which they can shoot you. So you want to make sure that when you're drop shotting, you're somewhere that's not too high above wherever your recovery position is. So for instance, this spot that I'm in right now is not that high, but it is high for this particular recovery position, because I'm not going to be able to get my horizontal velocity back until down here on that main ramp. But if I look at that same position around here, and my recovery position is right here on this platform, then I'm going to have that that sort of period of vulnerability for a much shorter amount of time before I'm able to sort of skedaddle away. So you want to make sure that you're not too high above your sort of area of recovery. And you also want to make sure that your area of recovery is actually a good one. Because if you stop right on top of the middle of a platform, you're going to have 0 velocity, and then you're going to have to b-hop, you're going to have to strafe, whatever you have to do to get back to a velocity where you feel safe from attacks from other players. So chances are, if you drop shot and you recover on a ramp, you'll be able to get a lot more velocity and you'll be safe almost immediately. The same goes for drop shotting and recovering on a boost or on a ramp boost. So oftentimes on a ramp boost is one of the best places to do it, which is why one of my favorite spots to drop shot happens to be right here, because you're falling onto a ramp that has a boost, and right away you're almost back to max velocity after you drop. The next thing I want to talk about is when to drop. So obviously your positioning matters, but your timing matters too, and that's because you have to be aware not only of everything that you're doing, but the actions of every player around you. If you're on a busy server that has, anywhere between 20 and 30 players on it, especially if it's early round where you have a lot of people alive, you have any one of 10 to 15 people who are trying to shoot you at a given moment. And if you decide to drop shot at a time that's stupid, you're gonna get punished for it. So if you see someone in jail, and you decide you want to go for a drop shot, but this is, let's say, 16 seconds into the round, and it's on ski, and the entire enemy team is still alive, there's going to be someone who's going to shoot you. So you want to be sort of aware of what time in the round it is that you're going to decide to start making risky moves like drop shots, because again, drop shotting is sort of like a risk-reward system. So that's just something that you have to be careful of. And as for exact timing, you have to keep in mind everything that your enemies are doing. So if you're going to drop shot, again, let's use sort of jail as an example. If someone's just fallen into jail, they're going to be looking right back up at you, and they can return fire as soon as you counter strafe, because as soon as you counter strafe, you are an easy target for them. But if you wait and you cycle back around, by the time you get back around, maybe instead of being in the jail, they'll be climbing out, and they'll be in the air as well, or maybe they got stuck on the ledge here, and you're going to get a clear shot on them, whereas they're not going to be looking at you because they're going to be focused on something else. So, when you're drop shotting, it's just important to keep in mind that your targets are as much of a danger to you as you are to them. So you want to be shooting at people who are oblivious to what you're doing, or if not oblivious, then at least not able to directly counter your attack. And having covered, or just basically gone over the where to drop shot and when to drop shot, I'd also like to go over just how to drop shot. A lot of people, when they think of a drop shot, they just think like, oh yeah, whatever, you run up, you get a good spot on your ramp, you flick up, and you hit S, right? You S drop. This is absolutely terrible. What I just did is one of the most stupid things you can possibly do, because if you drop shot while you're going up, you have to wait not only for you to reach the tip of your jump, or the tip of your height where your gun is the most accurate, but then you have to wait for yourself to fall all the way back down. So you are effectively doubling that period of vulnerability, and not only that, you're going to slow down and speed back up once you reach your sort of terminal high point in the air, and when that happens, you're going to be either full stopped, both horizontally and vertically, or full stopped horizontally and slow vertically. So again, that's just making yourself a really, really easy target, so you want to avoid that. So in general, you want to drop shot when you're at your height, and then take the time while you're drop shotting to fall down. And in addition, you have to keep in mind the angles when you drop shot. You don't have to be aiming straight at someone and then hit S on them to drop shot. A lot of times you can sort of spin yourself into a position where you can go from the side and make yourself less easy to hit, and also give yourself a better angle. For example, if I'm trying to come across a player like this, and I have a sniper, even if I'm close to him, that's a really hard shot to hit because he's only passing your field of view for a very short period of time. He has a thin player model, and most servers, especially if they're running on lower tick rates, probably won't really be able to even register that hit very well. However, if you're going across a player's field of view, you can, instead of using S to drop, just counter strafe on the side. it's not like S is the only key you can counter strafe with. To drop shot, all you have to do is really any type of counter strafe. So if you're going in one direction at the side, you just have to press the opposite key. So for example, if I'm going to the right with D or without pressing anything at all, then I just press A. And you can line yourself up too. For example, here I'm going in this direction and I can press S to stop. But if I decide that I want to go facing the other direction, I can go like this and then press W to stop, since that's the opposite key of my movement. And this also provides you with a lot of interesting options of ways to slow yourself down without completely stopping. You could try hitting half sideways keys and spinning into a position where you can drop shot. You can oftentimes use your backwards half sideways keys to sort of slow you down without completely cutting off your movement. And that way your drop shot is less like one hard crack, but it's sort of split into multiple different motions that are a bit more fluid together. So that can help you with positioning yourself, and then of course aiming down for the final kill. So in general, that's something that can help you when you drop shot. Another note that I'd like to talk about is when you're not drop shotting with snipers, but with other guns that have a faster fire rate, a lot of people have a tendency to sort of get, afraid when they're shooting at something, so they sort of turn around and they get ready to surf back on a ramp. But if you have a little bit more trust in your movements, such as with your sideways surfing, your backwards surfing, or just your air strafing in general, you can keep holding out a spray for a much, much longer period of time, all the way as you're falling down, until you absolutely have to switch back in the other direction. For example, if I want to attack someone that is on the tower here, I could go up over them, drop, and then I could just keep that AK running all the way until I've hit the ramp, gained my horizontal velocity back, and my AK isn't accurate anymore. And sometimes if you get someone low enough, even when your gun isn't that accurate, you're able to finish them off with one or two stray bullets that you still might have left. So that's something that can be really, really useful for you, is just to remember to keep your drop shot and your spray going if you're using an SMG or a rifle. And I'm trying to sort of bring you a couple of examples of that in action here, if I can. So again, here, like, you might even be able to risk going into jail or something like that, as long as you're willing to sort of trust in your own movements going in opposite directions. And that about wraps it up for everything that I have for now. If I think of something else, then I'll probably drop it in the description if I have any other tips. And again, if you have any tips or any questions about drop shotting yourself, I highly encourage you to put them in the comments, and I'll try to respond to as many comments as I can on this video so that I can help you out. Also, in general, if you want to see more sort of tip-type videos like this, feel free to drop a like on the video or let me know you enjoyed it down below, and I can think about maybe doing some more of these with different aspects of combat surfing and helping some newer players or even some more intermediate players sort of bring their skills up to that advanced level so they can be top bragging in all those fun matches. Past that, I hope you enjoyed watching the video. If you enjoy my content, feel free to subscribe and have an awesome day.